So I'm gonna do this in order of people who are leaving or people who have left me. So I guess that starts with you, Ryan. Where do I start? You know that for the longest time I didn't like you. And I just want to say it right here. I'm so sorry. And I truly regret not liking you. Because I disliked you for the dumbest reasons. For something so stupid, like something that I now realize was so dumb to dislike someone for. Especially as like, sorry to say, a liberal, and not only that, but also someone who is like, who's after this process of college apps, I realized that I should never have hated you for being an Asian competitor. It was like the dumbest thing in my mind that I hated you for so long because I didn't even know you. I just hated the idea that I had to compete with you because I knew that you and I were very similar in a lot of aspects, and I was so scared because I was growing up with so many things down my throats, and those were all stupid excuses because I should have been more well aware that another person of color, as dumb as it sounds, we should have just more been like sticking together in a system that unfairly views us and unfairly judges us. And I shouldn't have hated you, I should have just really hated the system. But with that being said, I'm so grateful and happy that you still didn't hate me for all of that. And that we still managed to become good friends. And that I would consider you one of my best friends that I could tell a lot to. Honestly, there's just second semester hit and it was all over. And I just immediately knew something was gonna go wrong this year. I just didn't want to say it because I was nervous, I was anxious. March was just a few months away. And I couldn't imagine like anyone else who could have understood that anxiety. And I understand that you also did, because we have pretty just like similar lifestyle, like life tracks. And when I went to Ireland, honestly, that trip was shit. Like, I hated that trip so fucking much. Like, I didn't want to go. I didn't know who I was going to talk to. And I'm so happy that I managed to end up talking to you and Andrew the most. That whole entire trip, with all of our dumb jokes, starting from like our first day in Dublin, talking about wholesome porridge, how things were so riveting in that dumb-ass Titanic museum because of rivets in Heart of Darkness, to like all the way to jokes about like Vive Cola, and just making a trip that pretty much sucked because we couldn't do anything because we were with LCHS and like you can't really drink in that country because even though we were 18, like there was just nothing we really could have done. You somehow made that trip one of the highlights of my senior year, so thank you so much for that. And all the stupid shit, even that dumb like the aftermath with like flirting with Brian, telling Brian I liked him, like sure, like yes, it was like sort of dumb and I shouldn't have like made bets I was going to lose. But at the end of the day, like, I wouldn't have changed anything the way it happened because I did become a lot closer to you even though I did those bad things to Brian. I'm also really happy. I think my favorite memory with you, aside from just like Ireland as a trip, had to be like, one of the things I'm most grateful about had to be that day after your guys' AP Psych test. I was at a low, like an all-time low. Like that Monday, I don't know if I went to school, but I was just crying. Like all afternoon. And it wasn't necessarily like the Brian thing. It was mainly like, I don't know how to put it. I didn't know who I was anymore after college apps, and I've told you this, after the admission results came out. And I felt pathetic because I knew that I shouldn't have let those schools define me so much. And I'm so grateful that you did sit and talk to me about it, because I don't know what I would have done that day if I didn't have friends like you and Sarah. I really don't know what I would have done. Because I've had such a bad track record with my just like mental health. It's just to know what friendship was and to know that there were people who cared about me a lot outside of like my family was really shocking. And I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful that you were willing to sit and talk to me for such a long time about something, to be honest, I was so dumb. I I hate saying the word depressed, but I was so depressed that day that I didn't want to get out of my bed. I didn't want to breathe. I didn't want to go outside ever again. I said I didn't want to go to prom because of Brian, but my real reason was that I didn't want to go to prom because I didn't feel like at that point that I deserved a good senior year. I thought that I was a really shit person, which is why all of these things were happening to me, and I didn't deserve anything good. But that conversation with you about how none of that mattered and how it was going to be okay at the end, it wasn't the things you said that necessarily made me feel better, no offense. It was more of the idea that there were people who genuinely did care about me. That really changed something in me, because for the longest time, I think my biggest thing in senior year that I learned was that there are such things as true friends. Because for the longest time, I was in belief that friendship was a facade, that there was no such thing as someone who could genuinely care about you. Because the people I was close with, like before senior year, wouldn't ever do that for me. They wouldn't have. If I were crying, like in a bad place, I wouldn't have had anyone. And I thought that only Amy could have done that for me, but you and Sarah showed me that that's not the case. And that day, I think, will forever, for a long time, remind me, and it gives me so much more that made me so much happier that I couldn't really understand. But the next day when I walked back to school, I didn't feel so empty anymore. I didn't feel that emptiness that I felt for an entire month. So I'm forever indebted that you did that you were able to talk me through that day. I was just so insecure about everything. And to really tell you why I was so upset about that type of stuff and why I said it was because of said person, and I think it's pretty clear, that person was never a good friend to me. It's not his fault because it's not who he is, but he genuinely can't be friends with someone that he doesn't have, I genuinely think this, that he doesn't have any romantic interest in. If not, he's just an acquaintance. And I think I was so upset that he was starting to catch feelings for another girl again, because the last time he did, I was just ditched, and it just ruined me because I never thought I could have friends again. And I just thought that I just thought it was so dumb, because I used to be best friends with Josh, June, and all of those Asian kids, but I just thought that guys and girls couldn't be friends because guys don't care about anyone who's not their girlfriend, or they don't want to show emotion to anyone who's not their girlfriend, or they don't want to be there for someone who's not their girlfriend. And I just wanted to shut out any people like that. And when he started liking someone else, or liking another girl, I was oh my god, it's gonna happen again. I'm gonna have no one. I'm gonna have no friends. I'm gonna have no one I can talk to. And I don't want to cry, so I have to edit this out. And what you gave to me that day was not only the idea that you could, because you had Christine and you've had romantic interests, but that a friend is something that's so completely separate, and and you were there for me regardless of anything. And that's when I realized you really are a good friend, and I could really have good friends, and I didn't have to be scared of losing someone like you, because you're actually a good friend. And you retaught me, I think, the most important things about friendship that I forgot. So thank you. So I guess this comes to the advice part, or what I hope comes next in your life. I know you always joked about how someday you were going to become rich and famous and send a waiting list to the Ivies, or a rejection letter to the Ivies that rejected you when they ask you to speak, and I really do hope that happens for you. But more importantly, I know that you're gonna do great at Berkeley. I know you're gonna do better than most kids do at Berkeley. And I know you're gonna graduate, and be one of the most brilliant kids. I know that. And I don't want to tell you, oh, do well in college, because I feel that's so generic. But the thing I guess I want to tell you in your life is, I don't know, because I feel you always tried to make sure I didn't have conflict. or I didn't have people like Brian in my life that I just dropped. But I hope you know that sometimes it's better to just let people leave. And that you don't need to keep everyone in your life. Like, and it's okay to cut people out. Because I know you think that you never have to cut someone out. But I do think that at times there are some people you do need to cut out. Because as someone who's cut out a lot of people, it's just something you need to do at one point in your life so that one day you can be better. Because if you keep leaning on or allowing the same people in your life that you'll consistently lean on, you can never become your own. And I know you might not take this seriously because you really are like, oh, Avery just cuts people out on the whim. It takes a lot for me to cut someone out, to decide whether or not to cut someone out and to not give them another chance. Because I am the kind of person where if someone sent me a text being like, hey, I never thought I would say this, but I really need you in my life right now, and whatever, I would definitely drop everything, be like, okay, I'll drive to your house, I'll be there, like, whatever. Even if that person, like, killed my family, if they told me that they were in a really dark place and they needed someone and they were once important in my life, I would go back hands down. But I do think that there's a time where sometimes you just need to cut people out because at the moment you're in, two people might just not be okay for each other and they might just be toxic to each other. And I think in a lot of aspects, I am very toxic to some people. And maybe I'll explain that or add that in the main video, but you can understand why maybe a little bit later. And so I guess that's it for what I have to say to you. Thank you for being part of the wholesome gang and helping me through that dire trip in Ireland and the aftermath of the effects and the things I did from then on, and helping me through my lack of self-esteem because of colleges and everything in between, and everything because I've lost friends. And I had a friend who made me feel like it was okay to prioritize feelings over your friendships when it's not about prioritization, it's about having two separate categories. Thank you for showing me that people are able to do that and people who care about their friends are willing to go that mile. Thank you for retelling me what friendship was, and just thank you for being one of my closest friends and one of my best friends throughout senior year, and for making me enjoy it, even for the shit it was. Because you made some of the shittiest parts better, like Ireland. Thank you. And I'll be forever indebted for that one day in May.